straight through him every Sunday and his path and his wife too. We're very fortunate about this. But now he has been known to tell a lie or two. And he lies to all the people on Sunday. He lies to them. When he tells them yes to them, he says, now if you'll fill out this little piece of paper and everything, drop it in the offering plate, we will call before we come. That way you get no surprises. Well, I want you to know, every day for about 3 years, I'd hear a knock on my front door. And I'd go there, and he'd say, Thomas, get some clothes on. He'd catch me naked. Of course, I didn't know it. You know, I was running around doing housework and everything already. But he always caught me naked, and I never got a phone call once. And he added insult to injury, he'd bring his own coffee over. I'd say, why are you bringing your coffee? He says, because yours is too strong. Well, I said, my coffee ain't strong. Of course, when he left, I offered him 1 or 2 slices to take with him, put in his pocket. I would take it to work with him and everything.
Shoot it all day long.
Yeah, he could shoot on it all day long. And I'll tell you something else too. I've always wanted you to preach on Lazarus and the rich man. I think the story about Lazarus and the rich man would make an ideal sermon from the pulpit. And you would name it what the rich man felt like at the very end of all this conversation and everything. Everything is funnier than hell. Now you think about it, everything is funnier than hell. Well, I have a little poem for you that I like to, you talk about me all the time. I walk with a thump, thump, thump. Can't be as quiet as a mouse. You've always suspicioned I left my leg in somebody's house. Don't know to look northward or eastward, westward, or down south. I reckon I could be like you, sweet pastor, and have it permanent stuck in my mouth.
Thank you, Thomas. I can't think of a better way to start this shindig off, so shindig. Okay, let me see who else I've got on my list here. Jack Blanton. Is Jack Blanton in the house? Jack? I haven't been here as long as everyone else, but I know that Jack and Linda go back a good long way with Bob and Patty, and we don't have that much time, okay? So, Jack Blanton, everybody, let's give him a hand.
When I found out we were going to do this on Saturday, I really thought about what to say, and I really was going to be serious about it, but I just couldn't do it. So, as some of you know that come over from Cooper Creek, some of you do and some of you don't, but there was a fact that was going around the church, and I didn't say a whole lot over here after all of us moved over here, because I was afraid it might work against me. So I kind of kept my mouth shut about it. And don't hold this against me, but I was on the pastor search committee when Bob was hired. Pastor, we love you. We don't care how many churches you've been run off.
Okay, we need to, not that things haven't been shook up enough already, but the roast would definitely not be complete without a word from our best friend, Patsy Schreiber.
Hey, Patsy.
That's why I called on you, because you had your mouth full. Come on.
Don't act like you're shy.
Yeah.
Not like, but I'm just not saying. Well, you know, I never stopped you before.
You can talk about your jail time. You know, he knows you've been in jail.
We did have, Rob, my husband, had her on drunk watch this weekend. So, we made sure that she didn't have anything to drink, but after 8 o'clock this evening, Rock has got special guys out there waiting for you. So, everybody, Patsy Schreiber.
Yay!
Brother Bob is the sweetest, kindest, most thoughtful gentleman that I know. Widen your horizons. From mine undying. I've heard from many sources that Bob is mechanically challenged.
Whoa.
And I just wondered if that was really so. But just in case it's not, I want him to be prepared for any job that may come up. And so, with your help, we will present him with the opportunity to be prepared.
And most importantly, it's been fitted.
Everybody, all you guys are nervous right now.
Not as nervous as Patty.
At least the bottom is down.
That's like putting a molehill on a mountain. You look like my grandma.
Calling Bob the Builder now? Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, it's not Bob the Builder, it's Bob the Destroyer.
This is what I used to use on tires or something.
Or me when I was bad.
Here is the crescent wrench, which I find very useful at my house. And here's one that Bob's already used. That crescent wrench there. Now, you know what this is?
Actually, I do.
Okay, what is it?
It's calipers.
Whoa.
You got that from me.
He has been lying in the
Plus,
pulpit,
you're
hasn't he?
for a spring back.
Oh, really?
I did. I ruined every job I worked on.
I was gonna say.
And the boss asked me, he said, do you know how to do anything else? I said, well, I took a bookkeeping course in high school. I said, why don't you find you a job doing bookkeeping? Okay.
There you go. You can figure out what the rest of the stuff is. I'll pick it up after.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to ask you about when we get by ourselves.
I don't think they got fixing.
Hey, bartender, I'd like a screwdriver.
Okay, to kind of break things up a little bit, I know that there's several people that we didn't have a chance to talk with, so I want to open up the mic, and if I'm looking at you, don't feel obligated. But if anybody wants to come up, where is Miss Micah? I know that she had, Micah, come on up here. If you don't know Micah, Micah heads up the Texas Women's University Baptist Student Union, whom we fed a little over than 150 students on Wednesday. So thanks to everybody, and thanks one more time for Ellen heading that up. Everybody, this is Micah. Let's make her feel at home.
know, I just want to, Bob, you are great. I mean, we love Bob, seriously. So don't take this, you know, the first time I met Bob, it was back in 2000. So you were at Cooper Creek.
Long history.
Yeah, it was wonderful. You know, I just moved to Texas and I was here at the BSM and you know, brought lunch and so the pastor comes, and you know, not a lot of pastors come to lunch. And Bob always comes to lunch. Right, you know what I mean? And so I appreciate that. So I'm like, I'm gonna have Bob speak at lunch. This is gonna be great, right? Because a pastor's here, he's gonna encourage these students and just help them feel at home. And so Bob gets up. And the first thing Bob does is he puts an 8x10 glossy picture of his son right there on the little podium. And it's not just a picture. No, it looks like a glamour shot. A glamour shot of his son. And TWU at this point, I mean, there were a lot of guys there this last Wednesday. But at that time, there was one guy that came to lunch. One guy. The rest of them were a room full of girls. And he says, and maybe it's been a while, but it said something like this. This is my son, and we would really like for him to get married. So, if any of you are interested, he's really nice, come see me afterwards. And then he proceeds to talk. And at that point I was like, did he just say that? I'm sorry, girls. And anyway, so then we went on. And yeah, so that was the first time. And then I learned that that's not all Bob, you know, does. But a couple of years later, and this one was just, I was shocked. Shocked. But this is what he did. He brought in, and I didn't think anything of it. You know, and I should have thought something because it's Bob, and I've known him for a few years. But he brought in this vase, a vase, not a vase. Anybody else brings in a vase, but he brought in a vase, and he brought it in. I didn't think anything of it, and he goes up to speak, and he sets it down, like on a table, right here, and there was an international student there. An international student, that's real important here. And indicates that she should look at it and pass it around. And then he starts talking about his Uncle Herman who just died. And then he says, well, the vase is clear because Uncle Herman likes to look out. Okay, there are people in the room that are like, but the international student was just like, that. And at that point, I realized a couple of things about Bob. One, there needed to be some ground rules before he spoke again. And two, you never ever know what's going to happen. We're glad you're here. But this last time, before the whole thing started, I did give the ground rules and said there's not going to be anything inappropriate. And do you have anything to show or anything like that? And we had someone from Operation Christmas Child, and she's looking at me like, what? It was like, past experience. Past experience. So, anyway, we're glad you're here, though, and here's to 10 more.
I got to tell you that after she gave me all of the restraints, I had nothing to say. I never spoke. I was going to talk about Huntsville Prison and American Idol I still haven't shared that story with you, have I?
No. What happened was, the student who did that, he kind of stopped you. I didn't even tell him to stop you.
You know, in my spirit, I just knew that I wasn't welcome to speak. I could tell the story about Huntsville Prison. Everybody here knows it because as soon as we got home, the guys couldn't wait to put it out for everybody. Micah, for 25 years, I've gone into jails and prisons, and that is the highest anxiety of anything I've ever had to do. I've watched autopsies. I have carried dead people out. I have been in hospital rooms when people raise their gowns. God help me. And and especially in Patsy's case, we were in the hospital at the same time. And we were across the hall, down a little ways from each other. And so the nurse came in and I said, would you go down to that room and tell that lady that her pastor has ordered her an ice water enema? And the nurse looked at me a little strange, and then she left. She came back and she said, the lady down there said to give her 5 minutes, meet her in the hall, and you're going to raise your gowns at the same time. That was the shortest stay we ever had, wasn't it, Patsy? I think. Anyway, a couple of years ago, I'm on my way home from having...
You didn't finish that story.
Huh?
You didn't finish that story about the nurses. They got together and were talking, and they asked us, I said, that's my pastor. And they asked us which church we went to. And we looked at each other and we said, Cook Creek Methodist.
I had a similar experience just this past week at the hospital and told them it was First Methodist. I'd move up since then. Anyway, for those few that have not heard this a million times, I'm on my way home from a revival in Louisiana. I call Patty and I say, you know, honey, I'm just exhausted. I think I've done my last revival, and furthermore, I think I've done my last Experiencing God weekend. I'm just done. And of course, Patty is the epitome of grace. And she said, well, that's fine, Bob. Just tell God what you won't do. So I get home, and yes, indeed, there is an email from Don Gibson, Texas Baptist Men. We're going into Huntsville Prison. I mean, he could have said Sing Sing, Alcatraz. It would not have been any more scary than Huntsville Prison was for me. And we're going to do Experiencing God weekend. So I automatically know that God has shut my mouth and I must obey. Well, you go through the fence, go into the first building, take your shoes and your belt off. At that time, I'd lost about 50 pounds, but I still wear fat clothes because I've been on that roller coaster all my life. Then you walk through the metal detector, and then you hold your arms out like Jesus on the cross. And I had an American Idol moment. Pants on the ground, looking like a fool with your pants on the ground. There was just one female CO, corrections officer, and she stopped laughing after a little bit. But there were 12 women waiting for their husbands to go into the chaplain for a marriage enrichment seminar. And there's an old song that says, I lost it all and they saw everything.
Just in case.
I'm wearing these next weekend. We're going to prison.
Well, I have to say something.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Keep it clean.
That's okay, don't finish.
Don't go anywhere.
I won't.
You know, Bob came here about, 10 years ago. He walked in and he knew that we did not have a preacher, and our congregation was rather slim. I knew. But to make a long story short, that since he's been here, you can see what has been accomplished at this church. But there's one thing that still bothers me. He keeps on telling the same old jokes. And when I was in Branson, do you know the bottom numbers?
Yes, I do.
Well, I want you to read these books. This and maybe you can come up with some fresh jokes.
Everybody wants to go.
And it's just very short. I'm gonna go back to tools. We both lived in old mobile homes. Now, an old mobile home is not like a house. They break. The floors fall out. I fell out in the hall of ours one day and had to lay down the plywood. One afternoon, I got a phone call. Janice, you got any plywood? And I said, yes. Bob just fell to the bathroom floor. So Janice took the plywood across there and cut it with my saw and made it fit. Now, I tried for 2 years to attach that piece of plywood, but his son was going to do it any day now. When they moved out, it still was not attached to the floor, but I could have fixed it, but he wouldn't let me. And we did enjoy living there with each other. And we did, and we both have left because when the rent goes up, they're more than the house payment, you gotta get out of there. That's really the honest truth. We couldn't stay there anymore. After 22 years, we had to move. We enjoyed them being our neighbors more than anybody can tell you. I'm gonna be serious. We were on vacation and we come back and the front office said, your pastor's moving in, was that okay? And we went, yeah, he can move in. We ain't got nothing to hide. He sure couldn't hide nothing in for sure because we was there. We had company, we was at each other's house. At times it got to the point though that when they had company we couldn't come over because we couldn't figure out how to get Thomas in their house so they came over to our house to have the party. So, you know, we did whatever it was that we could be a family because we got to be a family, the four of us, and the grandkids and anybody else that was around. But since you can never have closer fellowship than getting to know Bob and Patty personally. And we have missed them. We've been across town now 4 years, folks. This month is 4 years. I cannot believe it's been 4 years since we moved across town. And y'all helped us move. And it's been a blessing being there, but we have missed our partners in crime. And we dog sit for each other, but now we don't have Sweetie anymore, but we can still keep Sydney. Traveler won't kill her. They got along fine. We've had to learn how to get over Sweetie, but finally we've attached our affections to Traveler, and he has taken her place. It's amazing how a dog can take another person's place, another dog's place if you allow it. We had to allow it. But Bob and Patty are the most gracious and sincere people we have ever known. We know we can talk to them about anything. We get to cry together about lost children, not having them, losing first babies. We can talk about our weight issues. They come and they go. They don't ever go away totally. Still like that chocolate pie. Whoever bought that chocolate pie, I love homemade chocolate pie more than anything in this whole wide world. And I ate a whole piece. I'm going to have to pray bad tomorrow about eating that pie. Because I can't eat that anymore. I have lately. But anyway.
Sermon's not on gluttony anymore, so have a
Thank you, Jesus. I'm not gaining it back, but it sure is hard keeping it off. But anyway, I just got to tell you, all you got to do is say, Patty, I need to talk. Because she used to sit on the front porch with me and talk for hours because I've always had bad depression. I admitted it from the pulpit more than once, and I said, Patty, talk me out of it and get me back up here at the church because I'll say, I'm just not going tomorrow. I'm not going. Can't make me go. No, I'm not going. Patty sits on the front porch, and I'm back the next Sunday. She knows if I'm not in a meeting. Janice is having a bad day. Why weren't you there? I just couldn't get up there and go. That's me. And so I tell you, if I don't show up, you better call me and tell me you love me because I have to have it in order to get back in the car to come back over here. To me, it's a terrible tug of war.
This is brief.
Yeah.
The last Experiencing God weekend. And here I made the Baptist Standard, folks. Annie and I made the Baptist Standard. With all the pictures, it's us. But I told Brother Bob, I came home from the last Experiencing God weekend going, I have been ugly all the way home. I feel like I wasted my weekend. I don't need to go back anymore. And I don't, and here I am in the Baptist Standard. I go, I guess there's a reason for being there. And they keep talking about how great it was for everybody. The devil works so hard on you. And then you get to go, oh, I guess we did a good job. God was with us, just my brain goes, no, he wasn't. So anyway, I want to tell you, I love these people, but do not, if you go fix something for them, just fix it. Don't ask me, just fix it.
Hey, you talked for 2 hours because you talked so fast that you could have stretched it out.
I know.
Oh,
Now my baby Kurt.
where do I begin? have been going to church with Bob since I was knee-high to a tadpole.
Yep.
Came off that one good. The only thing that has changed about Bob in all the years that I've been going to church with him was, of course, his weight and his hair. I remember one time it was
I'm working on a no hawk.
I'll come up with another joke for
Okay.
that one later. But I remember one time he had a flat top,
Yeah.
and he said, I had a sudden growth spurt upwards. In my mind, that said, my heart stopped. God was calling me home, and then he stopped and said, wait, I need more biscuits and gravy. Or he just visited a little person's house and forgot to duck.
Yeah.
Either one. Bob is the only person that can embarrass my sweet, poor, innocent grandmother in the way that he does. To make her out to be some drunken party girl. When in fact, sir, my grandmother is a saint.
Amen. Tell him.
She has never purposely consumed alcohol.
Purposely.
I emphasize purposely. Her only sins in this world, sir. She hasn't cooked for me in so long.
I see you're suffering.
Yes. Greatly. And the switch she beats me with whenever she's on the drunken rampage. Now, there was one important piece of philosophy that you've told me a couple of years ago that I would like to pass on back to you and everyone else here. Shut up! Well, Bob truly to me is what we'd call a big old boy, a good old boy. And I can't tell you what kind of pastor he is, but I can tell you what kind of pastor he's not. Funny. But for real, Bob, it's been a great, I love every time I hear you speak. It's just a blessing to me, and can't wait to come back and just hear a good old-fashioned sermon.
Thanks, Kurt. I think it would be sufficient to say that the two things that have changed about Kurt since you've known him as well would be his weight and his hair. Just wanted to point that out. Doug Bolton, come on down. Let's hear it for Doug. Come on.
Y'all pray.
You know, Doug is a man of few words, but boy, when he speaks volumes, does he not?
Amen.
Thank you, Doug.
I do appreciate Bob, and Bob's done a lot of things for us. He's good to come to visit you in the hospital, or things like that. One time, Granny, she went to California to visit her oldest daughter. Well, we were busy and out of town, so she called on Bob. She had 2 Chihuahuas, and Bob called them Chattahoolas. So when we got back, Bob called me and he says, Doug, said, I've got something I've got to tell you. He said, you know them 2 Chattahoolas that Granny's got? I said, yeah. He said, well, I was over there feeding and watering them, and said, I let them outside to do their business, and said the trash truck come by. I said, well, what happened, Bob? He said it backed up. And he said it run over both of them Chattahoolas. And I said, have you told Granny? He said, I don't think I'm gonna have to. And I said, well, what did you do? He said, I called a taxidermist. I said, Bob, you called the taxi driver. Yeah, he came over, and Bob was telling him what happened, and the guy said, well, Bob, do you want him mounted? And Bob said, no, just shaking hands will be all right.
I'm so glad you did that.
And Raylene said a while ago, she said when Bob came in, he looked so surprised. Do you think that maybe he just didn't know? I said, no, I think he knew. He's brought it up every Sunday for 6 months. And
10 years.
He really did say that last part.
I love it.
He said, how could we forget? He's brought it up for every Sunday for 6 months. Well, good. Well, just to kind of clean that up. I do have to tell a little story that happened this morning. I got by with it this morning. Maybe I'll get by with it now. We were talking about our weddings and and getting away for the honeymoon, and Patty said she was waiting for the people to bring their car to them, so she's in the hotel room like arm's distance with Bob. No, they're going to be by here in a little bit to bring us the car keys. You just stay over here. You know, just wait. They'll be here shortly. So she said Bob finally gave up, went and got some peanut butter and cracker, and I said, what was the peanut butter for? So we were roasting you this morning when you weren't even here. Blood sugar, just had to get his energy up. Anyway.
Back several times, I'll tell you that.
He needed a lot of energy. Anyway, I do want to say that Douglas had said, he said, I'm sure there are lots of stories to tell. He said, my memory's so bad, I just can't remember them. And I said, but what I do remember is Bob and Patty have been there for us and our family so many times, and just at the moment we needed it and in the way that we needed it. And all kidding aside, we love you and appreciate you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Raylene.
See, she doesn't have trouble remembering her name.
She could be Raylene or Raylene. I mean, we both answer to either or, so that's good. That's good. Okay, at this time, I would like to open it up for anybody that would, I will share one story, and it's a story that I cannot share, so in the words of our pastor, meet me in the parking lot. And I'll tell you the end of the story, but you know, we tease a lot about being from Oak Cliff, and because there's so few of us that aren't incarcerated. But Bob invited me to an Oak Cliff Boomers meeting, and it was a great time. And my husband went with us, and I haven't been back since, so that's in a story in and of itself. But we had a really good time. Anyway, we had known Bob and Patty for too terribly long. Are you getting nervous yet? Okay. He's getting nervous. Anyway, we were at, what was the name of the restaurant? It used to be the House of Pancakes over there off Lover's Lane. Turned into a hamburger joint. Anyway, we were there, and we were early, so Bob and Rob and I were sitting there having lunch, and we were talking about, you know, high school and junior high and this, that, and the other, and Bob proceeded to share this story with us, and it was something that his dad had mentioned to us, and we'd probably not even been here for 2 years, but after he finished that story, Rob and I just looked at each other with our mouths on the floor. We could not believe what came out of our pastor's mouth. So it's a great story, but I can't tell it in here, so I'll just part of it. Anybody want to come up and share some Bobisms? Well, we don't have enough time, that's why.
Yay,
Since I'm his other mother, he can't say anything too funny, you know, I mean. But I know when he came, actually when he came to Cooper Creek, he said he wanted that to be his last job. And I thought, oh boy, he can live longer than I will, so I'll have him for my pastor the rest of my life. I didn't know I was gonna have to follow him around. But he's precious to me and I love him to death. And that's the funniest thing I can say about Brother Bob.
Thank you, Lord. Anybody else? No need to be shy, we got plenty of time. Sharon, come on up here, girl. Ladies and gentlemen, Sharon Zink. The better part of the Zinks.
Yay, boy.
Brother Bob means so much to Tom and I. I mean, he's always there for us. When we lost our little granddaughter, he came all the way to Crescent, Oklahoma, north of Oklahoma City, to be there with us for her funeral. And he's just always been there for us. And it's such a blessing to live right across the way from them now. I get to spend time with Patty, and we just have so much fun together, and we ride together on Thursday evenings, and just want you to know how much I appreciate both of you.
Okay, going once, Pat Bots, get on up here. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Bots.
I feel like since I'm the oldest member, been here the longest, that I can say something about this preacher.
Bring it on.
Cover the children's ears.
But it's all good. I prayed and prayed, walked the perimeter of this block, and asked God to give us a preacher that loved God more than anything, that put him first, that believed in prayer, that believed in missions. And I think the second week that he walked through this door, he says, we're going to have a prayer room here, and we had missions. And once that started, this church took off. And I am so proud that I can say, I love you both. What a joy and a blessing. You don't know how far this church has come, but I do. And it's because he has obeyed God. And the one thing that's impressed me the most is experiencing God. That study was a lot. It was better than any revival that I'd ever been in my whole life. But what made it twice as good is our minister preached a sermon Sunday morning on experiencing God. If you didn't understand it, you'll never understand anything. But at least he preaches God's word. And on Sunday morning, when he gets done, if you're not doing right, if there's something amiss in your life, there's no doubt what you need to do about it. And when I'm proselytizing, as I say, when I'm telling someone about our church and all the things that we do, I always tell them about a preacher. And I say, I think really deep down, he desired to be a comedian. But the Lord didn't lead him that direction, but he likes that every Sunday morning. If you don't want to laugh and if you don't want to be loved, don't come to our church.
Dee? No. Okay, first of all, I do want to mention Henry and Gail are not here this evening. So I understand that Gail, where's Cynthia? She's still in the hospital? Okay, so y'all just be in prayer for Gail and Henry. She had a bit of a spell yesterday while she was doing her proselytizing, shopping. So we all have to do our part. We have a couple of other things that we need to do, but right now we are going to turn the program over to our music director, who's, gosh, been with you as long as you've been here, and that is Mr. Harry Monroe. Oh, we got a timeout.
We need to take a timeout, okay?
We're taking a timeout.
So just visit amongst.
Back here.
Okay, Harry's going to the bathroom, so just hang. So at this time, as I had mentioned, Harry Monroe, our music director, he's been here 10 years as well, and he's going to do a pre-closeout for us. Yeah, actually Glenn Goodwin, we want to give him a round of applause. He set the clock back already, so we have a whole another hour to go.
I got my Bible, so it's a good thick one, okay? First of all, we hadn't been at this church very long. We had two deaths in our family. One of them was pretty tragic, and Bob Wood Farmersville comforted us. Really appreciate that. It meant a lot to us. Sundays, Bob likes to, he's got his own little one-liners that I really appreciate. One of them,
Don't be here.
Is it 2:9? About the medicine?
Mary Hart.
22. I probably got the wrong translation, but a joyful heart is good medicine. Can't beat that. And loves to put me down, okay?
Yeah.
Curtis will play his horn and turn to him and say, "You play better than your daddy does." Oh well, he's got a good teacher. So.
That's right.
In leadership, his favorite line is, "The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of the low price is forgotten." Y'all heard that before? Know where that goes? Remember that? Yeah. We talked about that with the ice machine. So, anyways.
Do what?
Cool.
We
Just
got it all?
waiting to get it installed, the ice
Really?
machine.
Whoa! We got the money for it.
I'm sure from time to time he's carried a piece of paper that probably like this that would be in the front of his Bible. Maybe has updated it weekly. It's dated but not signed. That says, "To whom it may concern, I'm resigning my position as effective 2 weeks because I have fought the fight. I've kept the faith, and I've finished the course. But I'm not sure if God's through with me yet. I've been sober in all things, but to the deacons, depart from me. I never knew you."
That's why my son named my grandson Deacon.
Deacon. Bob and I have talked a lot. We've shared a lot of war stories. We've been in situations to where the deacons meetings, or that time the deacons meet, is the one time you dread. Because you don't know what's on the other side of the fence, and you kind of feel like you're tired of being drugged down the fence, okay? So we've talked back and forth and laughed, and you know, at least we've got something. But this church is the neatest church I've ever been in.
That's right.
The neatest church. He's never said anything about the budget, okay? It's discussed occasionally. We're looking at it for next year. It's like, Barry, what do you think? Or, and I remember being in churches to where the deacons would say in the deacons meeting, "You got 2 hymnals, what more do you want?" And I'm thinking, you know, the Spirit. God can't work in this arena. But I want to share a few verses with you that, to me, really, in summing this up and looking at Bob's last 10 years, and hopefully he's got 10 more good ones. Maybe a few more after that. And he was phoning through scriptures, and I was phoning with him a few Sundays ago. In 1 Thessalonians 5, starting verse 16, and this is the letter that Paul wrote to Thessalonica. These verses really, to me, sum up what Bob is and what he's all about. Verse 16, rejoice always. Of course, his last name is Joyce, so he is going to rejoice. He always gives thanks, and he's forever more happy. I've never seen a grim look on his face. He may not feel good. I know his medication cabinet is bigger than most tackle boxes, okay? I know there's days that he doesn't feel 100% or maybe up to par. But he's here, and God is working through him. When he's in his office on Sunday morning, if his door's cracked, I'll go greet him. If his door's shut, God's working in him. Leave him alone. He needs that preparation time. Verse 17, pray without ceasing. Pray continuously. Bob is a man of prayer. And I tell you what, a few Sundays here ago, Linda prayed, and we could have had an invitation immediately after Linda prayed. But Bob is a man of prayer. Verse 18, in everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Bob's always giving thanks. He has a spiritual gift. Verse 19, do not quench the Spirit. Do not stop the Spirit. Bob is Spirit-filled. And just, like I said, on Sunday morning, God's dealing with him. Verse 20, do not despise prophetic utterances. Bob enjoys preaching the gospel without a shadow of a doubt. Verse 21, but examine everything carefully, hold fast to that which is good. He is discriminating. He examines everything very carefully and basically picks it apart, as that's what we ought to be doing. We ought to be examining and looking at everything under a microscope. Telling Curtis the other day, I can see that without a monocle, you know. But that's how we ought to be examining. And finally, verse 22, abstain from every form of evil, always be holy. And I just feel like that's Bob to a T. And to sum up, to me, what Bob has been for me, I mean, he picks at me all the time, and I'm one that's slow to anger. And I look back on my job situation, I've been slow to anger, but I've been praying, God, show me something. And Tuesday, bingo, it happened. But to say to Bob, job well done, thy good and faithful servant.
Thanks, Harry. I'm going to ask at this time my good friend Christy Monroe if she would come up here with me, please. Rob, you want to bring those two things up? And we're about ready to close everything out here, but first of all, I want everybody to give a big round of applause to the leader of our Shady Ladies, Cindy Goodwin. It is through her leadership and our group that this whole thing came about. So it's her fault.
Y'all can talk later.
We're still plotting.
Slot.
Well, thank you, Bob. You are an encourager, and I love you. You could even make Harry and I look good. But enough about you. We know behind every good man there's a wonderful woman. And we love Patty too. We love you just as much, but we love Patty too. And I know that Patty says that she's, you read the books and you try to be, this kind of pastor's wife and that kind of pastor's wife, and I'm not this and I'm not that, but you are everything we need. Thank you so much for your leadership with the children and for the ladies and going shopping, or just an encourager and to me personally. And there's not anyone in the room, I'm sure who you work with or anybody that doesn't know that you always have a smile and an encouraging word for anyone. And we want to give something special for you because we love you so much, and that is just for you, just for you. We know you love to shop. Can't buy just for you. Not him or her or them or whatever, It's just for you. We're going to be looking for that outfit, So, but just a little token of our love and appreciation, because we love you so much. And you too, Bob.
Everybody's always known, Bob makes a big joke about that. We do love Patty more than him. And that kind of goes without saying. And so does he. And yes, we're thankful every day that she puts up with you, because none of the rest of us want to. That having been said, we don't want you to feel slighted. So Rob's got a donut box for you. So if you pass that on over to him then.
For the preacher's meetings.
So thank you, Bob, for all that you do.